Welcome to CRE Fast 5. I'm Iacono, and tonight we're looking at the state of New York City. Now there is some turmoil, clearly, but the city is far from dead. If this is a market that you have invested in, or perhaps you're just curious how much of the sensationalized headlines are really true, then this is an episode of CRE Fast 5 for you. We're going to run through a lot of real-time stats to understand how the greatest city on earth is really faring today. Let's go. First, unemployment is improving. There has been a 90% decline in weekly unemployment claims since April 2020. Weekly new claims are still hovering around 20,000, but are expected to fall further as vaccine distribution and warming weather improves the hiring landscape. NYC has recovered about 38% of the private jobs lost. Still a ways to go, but job gains are expected to accelerate in the spring and improve steadily through 2021. Obviously, this is an area of continued concern, but the trajectory is certainly positive. Moving on, the vaccine rollout, while not perfect, is underway. As of this week, there were just over 4.5 million doses of the vaccine that were administered in New York City, with additional vaccine capacity being added daily. Spending in tourism is coming back as well. Consumer spending in the NYC metro is now 95% of what it was in January 2020 pre-pandemic. By April, the influx of people coming into New York City is expected to outpace those who jumped ship. Post offices, for example, received about 66,000 change of address requests for households moving out of the city, and just over 48,000 requests for those moving into the city in January, which is when the most recent data was available. Now, a lot's changed since January even, so I expect those numbers have already flipped with more people coming into the city. Some additional bright spots. The Mandarin Oriental Hotel overlooking Central Park called back their workers for reopening this week. The Union Square Cafe, a popular Manhattan restaurant that was closed for months, is once again open. Fans were in the stands again when the Yankees opened their season in the Bronx, although limited to 1/5 capacity. So it's clear things are improving as the city continues to open up. But let's discuss the real deal on how retail has fared this past year and what the market really looks like today. The average asking rent has fallen 10% in the past year to about $652 per square foot in the areas that CBRE tracks, which is the lowest in a decade. With foot traffic still down and occupancy limits still in place, some landlords are starting to offer more and more concessions and some sales-based rent in the early years of the lease to attract tenants. So flexibility has become the new landlord bargaining chip. We're also seeing a pretty big spread between asking rents and taking rents, or the rents that are actually signed when the lease is completed. So the Real Estate Board of New York reported about a 20% difference on average between the asking and taking rents. In the most expensive retail district in New York City, that area along 5th Avenue from 49th to 59th Street, average asking rents declined about 8% to $2,618 per square foot. Again, the Real Estate Board of New York reported. The new figures represented, even more interesting though, a 32% drop from the quarter's peak rent in the spring of 2018. So some of this decline is attributable to COVID-19 shutdowns, but clearly change was already underway for the most expensive high street retail locations, and a lot of this is driven by vacancy. 5th Avenue clearly wasn't the only area affected, however, as several large chains closed a number of locations throughout the city. According to a separate analysis by the New York City-based think tank Center for Urban Future, some of the biggest closures in New York City were from these chain stores, including Dwayne Reed, Metro PCS, Modell Sporting Goods, Papyrus, GNC, and Mattress Firm. The number of chain stores in the city overall fell about 13.3% in 2020 to just under 7,000. Now, these stats seem ominous, but there is another side to the story. Many retailers and small business owners are taking advantage of the market. For example, Target is rapidly ramping up its store count in New York City. They just signed a lease for over 27,000 square feet at 600 Broadway in Soho, which marks the 11th building that Target has taken over in the past 14 months. It will soon open locations in Chelsea, Yonkers, Times Square, and Washington Heights. Ulta Beauty also opened a new store recently, 12,000 square feet in New York's Herald Square. It's designed to help shoppers rediscover kind of the fun and beauty in a post-pandemic world. So we're seeing some of that experiential retail start to come back. Furniture and decor retailer West Elm just opened its first outlet store in New York City. The store occupies 15,000 square feet in Sunset Park's Industry City complex. And Lidl, the European grocery store chain, just opened a store this week on Wednesday in Astoria, Queens. So the takeaway here is that there is new leasing activity and there are tenants that are doubling down on New York City. So we may not be all the way back, but I predict that the city that never sleeps is not going to stay quiet for long. That was CBRE Fast 5. I'm Carly Iacono. I look forward to seeing you again next week.